VAT, Renata. Good, thank you very much. So in which case, without further ado, we'll get started then. So let me just share my screen just for a moment or two, if that's okay. I'm assuming you can all see this slide. So today's Look Forward Thursdays is about your 90-day challenge. And that really is about mindset, health and fitness, supporting you, supporting others, investing in your future, growing your business. You may remember Michael Romney last week did an excellent piece around the reptilian brain and basically how to slay the dragon. So we've got Chris with us today, who's going to be taking over in about 10 minutes, if that's okay with everyone. And Muriel's moderating the chat. We will be going on Facebook Live and also YouTube Live, but we're going to treat that separately because we had a couple of technical problems last week with that. So we're going to treat that as a separate exercise. So I'll be going out tomorrow, probably about 5 or 6 o'clock in the afternoon tomorrow. So as I said, these are the guests. Now, Alex is due to join us shortly, all being well. But what I wanted to pick up on particularly was about this amazing guy, Captain Tom. Who would have guessed reaching out? His aim was to get £1,000 raised for the NHS, and what he was already achieved at 8 o'clock this morning, 8:30 this morning, it was £12 million. By lunchtime, it's 13.6 million. Absolutely amazing guy. And I believe his birthday is in the last few days of April, Muriel, is that right? Is it about the 31st of April, his birthday?
Yeah, it's on the 30th of April, Rupert.
The 30th of April, yeah, it's absolutely staggering what he's been able to achieve. What I'll do is I'll hand over to Chris. So over to you, Chris.
Hi, hello everybody. Hi, good to be back for another week, and delighted that we're going to be talking about creating a 90-day plan. I don't know how many of you were on the call last week with Michael. I found that a hugely inspiring session, and certainly got me thinking about the current situation and whether actually there really is a big opportunity for us right now, and has had me very much thinking and reflective amongst a backdrop right now of lots of change and this shift in paradigm that we're experiencing. So what we thought would be good today would be for me to interview Rupert, and also hopefully we're going to have Alex as well joining us shortly. So we may have to improvise a little bit, Rupert, and you and I have some of this conversation between us. But maybe Rupert, you might want to share just a little bit about your background first.
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, just so, because several of you on this call today are also on last week and the week before as well. Can I just drop in with just one thing, actually? If you guys have got an amazing story to tell, especially if it's around those 5 key areas around mindset, health and fitness, supporting you, supporting others, investing in the future, and growing your business. If you've got something that's really inspiring to tell, do put it in the chat window. But also, if you've got some questions or points you'd like to make, do also make those as well. And if you're happy to be brought into the interview as well, just indicate that as well, and we'll be absolutely fantastic to actually bring you in. So just do interject as much as you can, and we're going to make it a great session. So Chris, your question to me was?
My question was really for you to introduce yourself, but maybe Rupert, I should do that from a perspective, because we've known each other for quite a while now, for a few years, and we've had the opportunity to work together. But I think the reason that I enjoy working with you, Rupert, obviously you've got quite an incredible background of having set up some very interesting ventures, and quite a sizable one with your pet, was it a pet tagging business in the past, which you grew to think to about 55 people, something like that, and now you're out there helping people with having founded the Business Growth Bureau. But I think the one thing I know about you is I think you're a very kind man, and a very authentic man, and I think I want to sort of fully respect you for starting to do these to kind of help, because I think we're both in that game of helping, aren't we? And one little known interesting fact about Rupert, which he may or may not share, is his son was an actor in Nanny McPhee. So you got to meet with all sorts of celebrities over a period of time, and even go over to America, didn't you, for the kind of launch, which was quite
yeah, so that actually might be a slightly amusing story to share. Our son, who bless him was only about 9 years old at the time, we were lucky enough to be invited to the premieres in the US. And we couldn't, unusually the film was released in the UK first before it was released in the US. I think I wanted to test out how successful it would be. Our son very nicely dropped me in it completely. We'd just been flown over, by club class to at the expense of Universal Studios and put into the Beverly Wiltshire Hotel, which the film Hotel Beverly Pretty Woman was filmed in. And our son, over a lovely meal, dropped it in that somehow I'd managed to get a hold of an illegal copy of Nanny McPhee. So not realizing what he was actually saying. And it was only because our family hadn't seen it, we wanted to share it with them over Christmas. But needless to say, about 3 or 4 days later, it got brought up in the home of one of the directors who was in Beverly Hills about what happened. And Emma Thompson was only sitting about 18 inches away from me, and Colin Firth was about 3 foot away. And needless to say, a lot of people had a joke at my expense, which I never really lived down to this day. But anyway, so I've set myself up for a fall there. But yes, so I suppose I'm a stereotypical entrepreneur. I don't always get things right, as entrepreneurs typically don't. They're great innovators and creators, and you have to surround yourself with good people. So I'm very lucky. I've got people like Chris. In fact, Karen, I see you're on the call today, and nice to see you with us. I've also, Graham DaCosta has been a good friend and supporter. Welcome, Graham. I'm delighted to see you on here. And I also made some other really good connections who are really keen to work with us. And just sort of setting the scene a tiny bit with this. And I think the COVID or coronavirus thing has been a real eye-opener with all of this. It's really brought in, to me, the whole sense and importance of community, where we're all thinking and working together. And scenarios like Captain Tom, as a case in point, just one person with one very simple mission has been able to raise not £1,000, but £13.5 million with nearly 700,000 people who've actually contributed to his cause. And it's all about a mission. And it's times like this when we all stand together that really make all the difference. I'm very lucky to have people around me who are really helpful in the development of the organisation. But that's not really a very good answer for you, Chris, but hopefully sets the scene a tiny bit.
Okay, well, I think, I think it's a wonderful time to have this conversation and to really think about what our 90-day plans are, and give ourselves a sort of focus point to kind of make some progress around a number of different facets of our life and make a contribution. And I think some of that comes out of, as well as realizing that deeply what's important to us. And Captain Tom has made a big contribution in his own way, which has got really publicized and very, very inspiring. But there is the potential to look deeply into our why. And you and I have got some similar whys in minds about helping people realize their true potential, whether it's companies or individuals, and to really make a difference at this point. And I think we can either be observers, or we can actively, or we can be victims, or we can actively and proactively sort of participate in this world at the moment. And it is a very strange time. we're going to talk about mindset in a moment. And I just in the last couple of hours, I've had a major client of mine call me and say, work with you has been brilliant, but we're making furloughing people, we're putting them on hold. Chris, we're going to have to put you on hold for a few months. Let's talk again at the end of May. And I've just spoken to my work colleague John and his cleaner, who I've met a number of times when I've been around to his house. Her husband died this morning of coronavirus, and we're kind of going through this sort of unsettled, very shifting sort of paradigm of thinking, can we pay our way in our bills, and so there's some sadness going on and that sort of thing. And I think therefore it's even more important to be productive. There's some internal reflection, but there's also some external kind of contribution. So I think this is a good subject. So why for you, Rupert, do you think it's important that we we create a 90-day plan right now and get kind of focused?
Well, I think the thing is, it's times like this are great for planning. You know, we've got a bit of downtime where we can really focus on ourselves and on other people. And Chris and I had extensive discussions, and also Muriel and Alex were part of those discussions as well, contributed a lot to it. And we really decided between us, I think, that these 5 areas around, you know, for example, we've just run through now, but also, for example, around mindset. You know, one of the things that I've found with myself is that, you know, everything's come as a bit of a shock, and you can either very much go inwards and become very introverted and just accept what is pretty well thrown at you and have no control over events at all, or alternatively take a much more positive view and say, well, we know this is happening, we've got to, there's a world we're living in around us, and how can we really motivate ourselves to achieve something great, but also to make that somehow very realistic. You know, it is about sort of almost identifying sort of challenges and improving your mindset. To me, it's also about continual self-development and being inspired by others. So for me, around the whole mindset piece, that's a very important thing. But about you, Chris, you're very inspirational in these type of areas yourself, aren't you? So what helped you to see the things through at the moment?
Well, I think definitely there's a few things. There is, I think it's helpful to have some quiet space at the beginning of the day, you know, to maybe reflect or meditate, whatever that may mean for you, and maybe answer some important questions like, what am I grateful for? What am I going to achieve today? You know, reflecting on yesterday, reflecting about how you want to show up as well during the day. And I think some of that provides a foundation then for you to be maybe a little bit more robust, because we are getting surprises. What I would say, some of the things that have been very helpful to me have been also just reaching out to people after the conversation with Michael last week, whose view was we should be doubling our sales targets at the moment, which was quite interesting. I wrote a list of 150 people that I wanted to have a conversation with over the next 90 days, and I've started doing that, and some of those people have you know, been profoundly insightful, and I think each one has added to my robustness and the inspiration that I'm feeling. So I'll give you an example of one of those. I have a good friend, David Fox Pitt, who gained an MBE at Christmas. He's raised 40 million for charity through his amazing events which go on in Scotland. I did one myself called, it was a quadrathlon last year. So he does this to raise money for charity, and what he was doing was he was heading off to Dundee, and he'd had to have special dispensation. He lives on a beautiful loch in Loch Tay, and he had to have special dispensation from the Scottish government to do this, but he was delivering 50 food parcels to staff at a hospital in Dundee, and he was going up to help set up a food centre to help people who were on the poverty line in Dundee. And normally, you know, they were sad because they've had to cancel every event up until September, every kind of endurance event, which would have raised hundreds of thousands of pounds for charity. And but interesting, now he's focused his attention on charity at home, which is quite interesting. So you know, that inspiration by talking to people in your network and joining things like this, I think, is really helpful right now to keep us moving forward and generation new ideas. I had a chat with Michael Romling yesterday, hugely inspiring again as well. So just do that, reach out to people. I think it really helps.
No, thanks very much, Chris. It's really interesting. I think we've had a number of people comment here actually in the last few minutes. So, for example, yeah, Jeremy, I 100% agree with you. I think Tom does deserve a night, and I know there's a massive campaign to help him achieve just that. So it'll be really interesting to see whether that actually happens. Renato, thanks for your good comments there. Peter Sud, I'm not sure I pronounced your last name. I'm really sorry. What might be fun with yourself, if you're open to it, is perhaps in a minute or two we could bring you in as a guest, and it'd be really interesting to interview you about some of the things you've achieved. I won't take your thunder away, rather that you explained it yourself, if that's okay. If you could be ready in just a moment, just make sure mic and camera is working, that'd be fantastic. And also you referred to reconfiguring your business, Pradeep. Lovely, thank you for that. So you're happy to share and work and very, very involved with international collaboration. and you very kindly offered to contribute to these Zoom meetings. And actually, just on that point, Pradeep, actually, if I got to pick you up on that, we will be, over the next week or so, inviting people to submit or apply to actually be part of the live streams. We've already discussed it internally, so we're going to do it. In fact, you had a slight hint in the email on Wednesday, I think, that went out, saying if anyone wanted to contribute, they're very welcome to drop us a note. We will be actually setting it up so you can directly apply, and we're going to be starting to plan the content for these sessions 13 weeks ahead. That's Chris's idea, but I think that'll help us to get things a lot more structured, and we'll go from there. So, Chris, I think the next point we discussed was really about health and fitness as well. I know you're very big into this, aren't you? So,
well, absolutely. I think there's the mindset piece, which I'm sure we're all kind of working on in our own way, and helping people with reading and reflecting and maybe meditating and just getting ourselves so we're able to hold our heads up and move forward when maybe other people might be losing theirs. Maybe a bit of reframing is kind of required. But I think also within the 90-day plan, and an amazing example there from Peter, who puts my efforts to into some perspective around health and fitness. There is an opportunity through health and fitness. I think we have that opportunity, don't we, to also help our mindset. There's that connection. So it's maybe a good time to be building some in. And I know I know I think it was last week you asked me about my quadrathlon I did last year, and that was a massive help for me. With my father was dying and was very ill for a year, and to be exercising to the level I was exercising week in, week out, I couldn't have anything but a positive attitude. And I couldn't be of anything but really of help to people in that situation, and it stopped me from getting despondent because I had this great goal to focus on. So I know that we were going to talk about this with Alex, because he's doing something significant. But maybe we could get Peter in at this point for
So Peter, if you're up for it, we're going to try and bring you in as we speak. So just bear me a moment. So if you should be able to speak now, Peter. Can you just introduce yourself for a second?
Try that.
Oh, there we go. Peter.
How are you?
Yeah, I am good. Yes.
Right, brilliant. Peter, can you switch your camera on if you can as well? Just makes a bit more fun.
He might be in his pajamas.
He might be.
No, I'm naked, but that's enough.
Yeah. We do have a few ladies.
Well, maybe we'll just stick with your photo then, Peter.
Microphones, speakers. I've got audio settings on here, but I've got nothing for camera.
You should just be able to switch. No, don't worry about it, Peter. We'll listen to you anyway. Tell us a bit more about your health and fitness binge that you did last.
Well, it all started about 3 years ago. I got up one day and basically decided to do Hadrian's Wall, which takes about 10 days. And then following year, I did something called the Coast to Coast Walk, which was from Irish Sea across the Lake District, across the North York Dales, North Yorkshire National Park, through to the North Sea. And I thought that was really tough. And then I decided to do something called the John Muir Trail in the States, which is wild camping, 200 miles through Yosemite, through Sequoia National Park, the Anzinard Wilderness, wild camping. And here am I wouldn't tell you how old I am, but let me just tell you some people were 30 years older than me on this hike. Some people died on it, not in our group, but another group. It was because they slipped and fell over 11 mountain ranges. Took a year of training, a year of just absolute hell. Because one of the things you have to do is get used to walking with a 20-kilo rucksack for 20 miles at a time. And believe you me, it hurts.
Wow.
And I went on the basis of the last, about 2 weeks beforehand, I went on the basis, I'd gone from doing zero, not being total couch potatoes, doing 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons. and then hurt my knees about 3 weeks before I went. So I thought, well, I'll go anyway. And if I get thrown off after an hour, I get thrown off after an hour, you know. And yeah, you do an hour, you do another hour, you know. I got to top of Mount Whitney, which is 14,500 feet. So exhausted, I was hallucinating on the way back. I thought one of the guides I was with was going to kill me. So completely no blood sugar left at all, very high altitude for me. And did it. And the most amazing thing is that it changes your perspective on life. Right. And I would recommend anybody do it, however unfit you are, because you come out of it, you bond incredibly well with the people you're with, because you have to trust them with your life all day, every day. And you're living very, I'm sharing a tent that's no bigger than a desk with a guy I've never met before.
Peter, what with we're talking about 90-day plans here. At the moment, we're all in isolation, and we're kind of allowed out once a day. What do you recommend to people in terms of building their health and fitness up? Perhaps with there's a lot of benefits, and you've experienced them. I have, and many people. What would be your key recommendation to people right now?
There's an NHS England has an app called Couch to 5K, and if I can do a 5K to run 5K, anybody can. Believe me, it takes 9 weeks. You start off by running no more than for a minute at a time, and little by little, you get better. Yeah, and after 9 weeks, you can run 5K. And after, there's another app you can do that does not that you have to pay for. It costs about £5, £10 maybe. That teaches you how to run to 10K, and you just get better and better. So it's made. So now I go out. I either go walking for an hour during the day, or go cycling for an hour in the day. And I'm a disgrace on a bike. I'm so slow. I get overtaken by snails going uphill, but I do it, and I feel great for doing it. So I recommend it to anybody, no matter your shape, your age, whether you've got one leg or 2 legs or 3 legs or whatever it is. And in terms of strategy, what I would tell people to do is to innovate. I've been through 3 recessions, and every time I've come out with a different business effectively at the end of it. I've saw the recession coming, so I've got cash on a balance sheet and all the rest of it, so I can survive this. But I'm just working from home, small business development team in India. I did websites and stuff. And so I've got a 3-pronged plan. One is to keep doing my investing in R&D. So if we do come out of this, you have a stronger competitive advantage. Number 2 is to market products that we wouldn't normally, because they're low margin, and not recurrent fees, which is what our sweet spot is. We like the razor blade model. Blow me, I got my first inquiry from New Zealand today. Was it yesterday? Okay, so and the third one is, we want to buy competitors with the cash we've got. A little business, we want to buy other web development businesses, because I think an awful lot of people come out of it. But what we find is that I've got clients who are lovely people who have been in business for 60 years. In this case, in the retail sector, I think of one client, and they are fundamentally unable to innovate. They just think that they are trapped. What happened with them is quite interesting. That they had over generations, they had a business that rained money on them. So they left school at 16, very nice cars, that led the life, and the tide went out of the business. And they are unable to innovate, and those guys are just dead in the water. And all I gotta say is learning new skills and change. Everybody says it should be easy. It's always bloody hard work. It's tough. You don't want to do it. but you have to force yourself to do it, and you have to force yourself to change, try stuff and fail, try stuff and fail, try stuff, fail, try stuff and fail, try something. Well, that half worked. Let's try it with a different spin on it. I'm not cleverer than anybody else, believe me, but it's just about, to me, it is just about trying, failing, working out what succeeds, trying again, and just relentlessly not giving up and being just dogged about it.
Yeah, Peter, I 100% agree with you on that, and that's one of the reasons with what we class as 12 pillars. The first one is up to your motivation, your personal 5-year plan. That's really the first two, but the whole thing is around your why, because it's times like this is that when most people quit, they actually will. What will happen, because their business values and personal values are not well aligned, they'll choose the easiest option, which is actually just to quit and roll over and accept what's going to happen to them. And what I would argue, I 100% agree with what you're saying, is at times like this is actually about looking. It gives you an opportunity to look at your business, what you possibly need to change about it. You quite often find there's whole new opportunities that exist that you didn't realize even existed before. And I 100% agree with the innovation part. And there's two reasons why I agree with that. One is that if you don't continue to innovate, you're dead in the water because you're becoming irrelevant over time. And the second thing is that there's a lot of products or services which you can't easily protect. And especially if you're in the coaching, mentoring space, or other areas which are areas of specialism which are very unprotectable. By innovating, it helps you to stay ahead of the competition. And remain relevant.
So I've really taken from the conversation that you've had some really good points, and I think what is interesting about this situation right now is that it's forcing us to act, and it's creating a situation that means we have to act whether we feel like it or not, and therefore I think we're more likely right now to look at our business models and look at the way that we're operating and get innovative, and I think this is a really interesting challenge for us right now to all go and do that. But thanks for your comments and
you're
really
welcome.
This
is the first one of these phone-in type things I've ever taken part in. So if I'm a bit noisy, you have to forgive me. Go on, put me on silence.
That was great. Thanks very much, Peter. Anyway, so you take care. Obviously, join us, stay on the call. It'd be lovely for you to stay. Thank you. I think Renato's made a really good point as well, actually. Can you just read that out for us, what Renato said as well? So, Miro, I'm not sure you can hear. If Miro can hear us, okay. Okay, no worries. So, I'll read it out anyway. So,
I can read it. It says, I have Aikido as a soft martial art, and the appropriate phrase often used is that it teaches harmony of mind and body, i.e. neither takes advantage of the other, but working together. And I think it's a really good, working together with the mind and body at the moment is important. So Aikido, that's one to look out for, I think.
Yeah, thanks very much, Renato. Renato's full of words of wisdom. So areas we haven't covered yet. Chris, over to you again. So
thanks. So I think with our sort of third area, and as you say, you've created a 90-day challenge sheet that you can use and download and kind of complete and use it to help them. So we've got to think of some challenges maybe around our mindset, keeping ourselves positive, daily rituals, participation. On my list, I've got fun participation as well, having some fun with the family. We're involved in quizzes and those sorts of things, reading lots of content. Health and fitness, I've got some 50 miles on my bike on Zwift a week, 5 7-minute workouts that I do at the beginning of each morning. And then we moved on to supporting you and supporting others. Now, I think this is an important one, helping people, helping yourself. But what did you mean, Rupert, when you talked about supporting you?
Yeah, it's really interesting because I have actually eaten my own dog meat, if I can put it there. I'm not describing what we're talking about as being dog meat, by the way, but this is my 90-day challenge. So under that part of it, I'm supporting you and supporting others. This is about me personally, I guess, but it's about surrounding myself with positive people who have high aspirations. I like to get very inspired by others. I love to actually share value through content. And for example, today is a really good example. I think, Chris, you feel very similarly to this. by actually involving things and creating a whole sense of excitement about everything you're doing through live streams and what we class through our business growth clinics, and obviously Chris with your radio show as well. That to me is fantastic. And what I want to do is to encourage, for me, I'm supporting you, supporting others, I want to encourage people to be part of the Business Growth Bureau community, and then for us all be helping each other. So you'll be seeing some further announcements on that over the next week or so. And another big aspiration is if we can raise £1,000, just £1,000 for Captain Tom's charity, or all to do with the NHS. Certainly, Business Growth Bureau would like to play its part with your help. But we'll come on to that in a little bit. So for me, by looking outwards and wanting to support others, you actually are indirectly. So okay, this is an interesting one. Okay, so anyway, so I'll do my best. So we've lost Alex. We've got I think Muriel's there. We lost her as well.
I'm still here.
You're still there.
Yeah.
Muriel, let me ask you a question. Actually, with yourself, you by definition are very much a supporter, aren't you? You love helping and supporting other people, Muriel. What's a big motivator for you in terms of helping other people?
For them to be successful.
Wow.
If they become successful, then the buzz I get is second to none.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
That is lovely. And I think
that's not necessarily successful in business. It can be successful in life, whatever makes them happy and makes them the best person they can be is where I come from.
Right. Yeah. And you go back again, your big motivating and helping others is very important to you, isn't it?
Yeah, very much.
Yeah. So that's why I'm very blessed to have Muriel. She's, as I've described before, as every business needs a Muriel. And that doesn't mean you should poach your guys and girls. We go back a long way, Muriel, don't we?
Don't worry, Rupert. I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah. All right. Glad you're back, Chris.
I'm back. Sorry about that. I guess it makes the supporting others sort of practically locally and family and friends and connections and contacts, but actually there's maybe things that we can all do in our spheres to help people. I set a goal when I was 40 that I wanted to help over 1 million people beyond my client base, and my radio show on Voice America, the Business Elevation Show, came about. And tomorrow we have our 371st hour of interviews. So I've been doing that now for 9 years nearly. Interviewing people each week just to kind of help add value. So maybe there's a thought in your 90-day plans whether there are some things that more outward facing that you could do, like Major Tom and Rupert and the likes, to maybe add value in a bigger way perhaps than calling your mum each day or whatever. So think about how could you reach more, maybe with blogs, maybe with different forms of communication to add more value. So one of the a little sort of comment, a thought in my mind that just keeps sort of popping up was many years ago I interviewed and became friendly with a young guy called Stephen Sutton. And Stephen, I don't know if any of you remember him, he was a 19-year-old with teenage cancer, and probably one of the brightest 19 years olds I'd ever met. He was very, very inspiring. He raised 6 million for charity, a little bit like Major Tom has, and ended up speaking in his last year and on a stage at the O2, and became friendly with comedians and various people who kind of endorsed him. And I'll never forget with Steve and him saying to me at the end of I did an interview with him just 3 days before we went into hospital for the final time. And he said to me, Chris, cancer has given me so little. It sucks, but it's given me so much motivation, but so little time. And I look around the world and there's so many people with so much time, but so little motivation. Please, when I've gone, just tell people to make every second count. And I think this is an opportunity now, isn't it? Maybe the next 90 days, Rupert, to try and make every second count the best we can, really, and show up in the best way we can.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. And it's inspiring stories like that. You told me the story of the other, about him the other day, and I must admit to, how you interviewed him as well. You must have found it on one hand incredibly inspiring, but also very humbling as well. So that someone in that position, all they could really do was think about others and how they could help others and be inspiration to others. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very, very moving. And he had he was coughing through it. He had tumours in his lungs, and he apologised to me afterwards. And I said, "Look, it's okay, Stephen. You're supposed to be poorly." But he had a great sense of humour. But I think what it's made me also think with the coronavirus, and I just mentioned I heard of somebody who just died, who I sort of knew of his wife in the network and of coronavirus. And I think maybe we owe it to people. Some of those people would love to be around still, and maybe it just reminds us to make every second count and live to the fullest, really. Which brings us on to, are there some things that we should, it's very easy at the moment to kind of cut costs, and as some of my clients have been doing at the moment, and putting me on hold, and indeed we're doing as a family with certain things. But I'm also investing in things too, and that was something that came across from was it Peter who was on earlier, that he's investing in things right now. Should we be investing in things?
Yes, we touched on this a bit last week, I think. But what seems to happen a lot of the time in circumstances is that people tend to go very inwards, and clearly, if you've literally run out of cash, I would never encourage you to spend more unless you spend money you hadn't got, unless you really have got a very good business proposition, you've got very strong backers behind you to help that to actually happen. But really, at times like this, it is actually investing, and investing could be in your own products, your own innovation, but it also should really be potentially in your marketing. So it is about positioning yourself so you can have be in a much better place tomorrow than you are today, and also as the market does start to come back again, that you're in a position to actually ride the crest of the wave as well, because it's by continuing being in touch with your existing clients, your past clients, your future ones, by just continually reaching out, showing you that you're there and you care and you want to help them. It doesn't always have to have a sales objective to it. It's actually about being there, and ultimately people will remember you for all the right or the wrong reasons as well. So for me, that's particularly important. And the other part around that, which I put down on my own personal 90-day challenge, is I put about investing in marketing to grow the business, but also what I'm planning to do is to set up an advisory board within Business Growth Bureau. So in effect, as I've touched on earlier on, I like to surround myself by really good people. And I want to give people a little bit of a sense of belonging to the organisation. So that, to me, is very much about investing in the future, because that will help us to leverage everything we've got and to scale and to grow as things start to come back again. How about with your business, Chris, investing in as far as in your future is concerned?
Yes, I've been investing a little bit in IT this week. I think one of the things I'm investing in is we're creating, and just been having conversations with a contact in America, Gene Early, and Gene was one of the early kind of developers, founders, introduced NLP across Europe actually, and did some great things. And we're creating some content around elevating leadership and how to be a great leader in a crisis. So we're investing in developing some content and some videos and out of some thinking we've been working on, because we just see a need right now for people to really elevate their thinking, environmentally, not only from a total business perspective, but also from an individual leadership perspective to kind of elevate and shine. So we're investing in that. I shall be investing again in terms of creating another platforms for some of my radio show guests for us all to connect and help us to lead ourselves mentally through this journey, but also to work together on how we can elevate our businesses. And of course, I'm investing time in this, and I continue to invest in the show. So while I'm not out there with clients, and I am still delivering some work with clients online, I shall also be investing in calling lots of people. So I've got a list of 150 people I will call in the next 90 days. And interestingly, already some of that is yielding some opportunity. So when I may have thought psychologically there wasn't much at the moment. So yeah, that little investment in time is good. So I shall keep investing in various things, but also just on things I don't need, just paring the cost back a little bit. Just some of the things we're spending, those recurring payments you pay every month and actually find you're not using. for various bits of software and things like that. I've surprised knocked a nice handsome chunk off each month for things I just wasn't using. Very interesting.
No, quite. No, I think that's so important, isn't it? And so Chris, in terms of growing your business as well, what's really helping you at the moment? So obviously, we talk about investing in certain areas and the right thing, but also cutting costs in others. What would part of your overall growth strategy? What would you say is that? What is your growth strategy over the next 6 months?
Well, I think the growth strategy is to be as helpful as I possibly can to my existing clients, and also helpful to those who've had to, for financial reasons, put me on hold to still offer my services and help and support. And then I mentioned I'm calling a lot of people. I'm on the phone, just seeing how I can help. Seeing if I can help people, their families, their sort of companies, not necessarily sort of paid, but just touching base with people. And it amazed me. I was quite surprised when I went through my phone contact list on my phone. There's literally hundreds of people in there that I've collated over the years, and some of them I'm trying to remember, well, why are they actually in my phone? And then I'm realizing, it was them. So there's that opportunity, I think, just to reach out through everybody in your phone, through your contacts and connections, and just talk really, and see what comes of that. And then on top of that too, in terms of business growth, I'm looking at the products that I'm offering and the positioning of them too, and trying to get creative. And we're helping people now with a free online survey, which is got around working from home and things like that. So yeah.
Oh, that's
lots,
yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's really good. And I think one of the things as well is that what I personally get a lot of satisfaction from is working with our own members and clients and also specialists to actually help them to really leverage and grow. And in fact, Renato's made a really good point here. Renato, I'd love to bring you in just for a second into this conversation. We'll probably need to keep it a little bit brief because we need to obviously make sure we stick to time as well. But would you be okay just to join us for a second? If you just type in yes in the chat window if you're happy with that, and then we'll try and bring you in just for a moment to see if that works for you. So good man, excellent. So I'll just unmute your microphone. If you could, you've got a camera, if you could try and switch on, Renato, but also switch your mic on. Let me just see if I can find you here. There we go. So Renato, welcome.
Thank you, Rupert. Now the camera is on. Did it actually work?
We can't see you at the moment, no.
I'm afraid that could be using a BT laptop and certain things and firewalls.
No. Renato's got a lot of stories to tell, actually, and also got massive roles and responsibility with an organisation as well, haven't you, Renato? But I think you were sharing a little bit of a story about you were helping a friend. Could you just tell us a little bit more about that?
I can, Rupert, yes, because for me it's always nice when you do one thing for somebody that cascades the benefit. So it was nice dealing last Thursday with the 99-year-old father of a friend who really, really didn't want to go into hospital, even though his blood pressure was very low and his sodium was low, and they needed to put him on a drip in the hospital. But really, from all the press, of course, felt, no, you go into hospital with or without the virus, but you pick it up there anyway. So I got St. Mary's to agree near Paddington that they really did have a segregated off area in the hospital. They could be trusted, really, convinced the individual. And it was so nice that going in with him and family, his son really is so used to caring for the father, especially at that age, with his mother, and felt because the father has Alzheimer's, he really wouldn't be able to communicate well with the nurses and doctors as he can with family. So I convinced them that whilst the son was with the father in accident and emergency area, they would allow him to stay, but he would not be allowed to go to the ward afterwards. And separately raised it with the trust that St. Mary's is part of. And the first thing they did, of course, was to quote to me the rules and regulations. No family members are allowed in the wards, full stop. But as Rupert knows, I think part of being half Italian is I always question rules until I understand them, and hence can buy into them or say they need changing. And when I put to the trust that even the nurses were saying to me that they were overworked, didn't have time to try and help such patients, but yes, if there was a way of changing things, they would really be supportive. So it was nice to find the right person in the trust who said, yes, it would make sense on this exceptional circumstance to say if it's end of life and those suffering with Alzheimer's or other understanding problems, that a carer could be allowed into the ward or a family member acting as carer. So they changed the rules, disseminated that on the Sunday morning. And I thought, right, is that it? No. The next thing I did is, having met Matt Hancock as the health minister when he was previously the minister for communications and media, I thought no harm to share the story with him. And it was nice to get a very short response to say, yes, he was looking for good news that could be appropriately used by government. It fits nicely. So I heard earlier in the week, of course, in one of the government questions and answers, that this was part of the guidelines the NHS was now following. So it really seemed to cascade nicely and work.
Yeah, and Renata, that's lovely. I hadn't realised you'd been behind the scenes part of the conversation, because I think it's Matt Hancock, was it yesterday or the day before? Mm-hmm. I was talking, he came onto that subject with that 13-year-old as well. And I think he described it as it made him wept when he heard the story.
Yes, it was the right timing. All those events came together.
Yeah, no, exactly. And it goes to show as well the power of one person. So we all think individually that we have very little power. And I think you're obviously an example of that. But I think, Tom, our 99-year-old, is achieving great things. No doubt, hopefully will be Sir Tom at some point in the next few months. Is a really good living, breathing example of that. So Renata, thanks ever so much for that. Delighted to see you on the call this week. We'll explain a little bit more what's coming up next. So just bear me a second, and we'll make sure. Thank you very much, Renata. Anyway, thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, so what if you just go? This is broadly speaking what we've very much covered today, which is really about your 90-day challenge, which is around mindset, health and fitness, supporting you, supporting others, investing in your future, and growing your business. Now, I have to say, when I heard this story of this amazing man, obviously been on the news quite a bit over the last few days, when this morning, when I saw him over breakfast, he was a real inspiration. And I thought, this is it. We really got to get behind, what this amazing, Captain Tom is actually achieving. And what we would like to do as an organisation, with your help, is to ask you to help us, in effect, to raise £1,000 towards the NHS. Now, I'm not actually going to ask you to put any money in. If you'd like to do that directly yourself, I'll leave that entirely to you. And obviously, he has got the Just Giving page here, so you can directly donate through that. This is a screen grab from a few hours ago, so I don't know what the figure is up to now. And what I'd also like to encourage you to do is to take part in the this 90-day challenge. And as part of this, what we will do is, for every 10 people that can take part, if you nominate 3 others as well, we will actually contribute £10 for every 10 people that take part. And the objective over the next 90 days for ourselves is to raise, through this, or be able to contribute, Business Growth be able to contribute £1,000 to the same charity that Captain Tom is supporting. So I very much like to get behind his mission and purpose. I think it's really important. And as far as that is concerned, it's really straightforward. I'm going to just take you very briefly to our website just to cover a couple of things in just a moment. But fundamentally, via a special page we've created on the website, if you fill in your details here, this is me filling in my details a bit earlier on this afternoon in terms of my 90-day challenge and the 5 areas that I'm going to particularly look at in terms of implementing. And this is the area you can nominate other people, and would encourage you to also think about really good accountability partner. So someone who you know, like and trust, who you can confide in. And that person, ideally, if they've got a bit of business acumen as well, would be fantastic, because they're able to help and support you and your business at the same time. What was really, really good there is if you could almost look back, imagine you're sitting in a coffee shop in 90 days' time, or if it's a virtual coffee shop, it was still a lockdown then, what would you actually say you've achieved as part of your 5 parts to achieving your 90-day plan, and actually speaking about it if it's already happened. And what I'd encourage you to do is to actually make sure that it does happen. And as part of that down here, I'm really interested to understand from you as well what you would like to be, what you see as a big challenge or an opportunity. And we may well base that as being a topic for discussion in coming weeks. And you can also here indicate whether you would like to be, contribute directly as a guest to the program as well. So moving on, just taking on to that part in just right now. So if I just go to our website for a second, so it's businessgrowthbureau.com, as you may recall, to actually access that, sorry about this, a slight refresh problem there, 90-day challenge. If you just click that option there under Learn More, this is where you can do it. Now, I've also set it up so you can actually save your details. Ideally, perhaps just set 15 minutes to one side and just do it in one hit. Just think about a little bit what you want to achieve beforehand. If you think you may get distracted, what you can do is you can click there on that link there, and what they'll enable you to do is to actually save your details with a username and password so you can return to it later. And we'd recommend that in reality, because it may well be you come out with an initial 5-point plan for your 90-day challenge. But in reality, it may be when you've spoken to your accountability partner, you may feel there's some other things you could put in there and make that part of your aim. Now, everything you put in here will remain confidential. What I would suggest, though, is if some of the things are very personal to you, you may have a separate action sheet of some kind, which you almost use as a worksheet to use alongside this. So this would be more like looking at a headline view. You'd have your own personal action sheets to implement. And what we'd quite like to do is also feature some of you in 90 days' time over what you've achieved over the 90-day period. So that's, I'll cover that now. I'll just come back to something else in just a second. Also, just a quick reminder, if you wanted to register for future live streams, just choose the events drop down. You can actually book here for 1 or multiple weeks. And if you haven't taken part already, you can also register for free for a business growth clinic. We had, it was very successful earlier on this week with some really positive contributors to that. Everyone gets a chance to raise a challenge or an opportunity and seek the wisdom of the group, as it were. So you're very welcome to take part in that as well. And we have just in the last few days, in light of requests, if you were to use this button here, we've completely redone our sort of 12-pillar framework, and also give some really good strategies in winning some more business for yourselves. So you can click on that and opt in there as well. So do feel you can do that. It's a 62-minute recording, share lots of value again. There's no upsell in it whatsoever, so do feel you can do that. So let's just go back to where we were a second ago. So I think, Chris, you're back with us now. Welcome back. We can't get you at the moment. So yeah, you're not having a lot of luck with them. I think you need to speak to Talk there, Chris.
I've spent a lot of time talking to Talk.
They're obviously not very good. They're good at talking, but little action by the sense of it. So yeah, but there we go. It can't be helped, can it? So then it's in conclusion, so we talked about this already. Steve Hyland is going to be on the show next week, and he's going to be talking about how to raise your personal brand using online video, and how you can talk to many whilst just speaking to one, the art of storytelling, and what are some things you can do to help your business survive after COVID-19. I've been interviewed by Steve a few times, and it'll be really interesting seeing him in the seeing it the other way around. Unfortunately, he's rather too fast-witted for me, and he'll probably make me pale into insignificance. But I'm sure you guys on the other side will enjoy his contribution, along with Chris, of course, helping to co-host it. And just do feel free to take part. So, Chris, I don't know whether there's any sort of closing points you would like to make from today. I'll just switch the screen share off again. come back to you.
Thanks, Rupert. I just think, and I'm sorry we have not had our guest Alex. we've kind of had to not wing this between us, but chat between us, which has been great. I just think that the key here is about making every second count and making this a really productive situation over the next 90 days. I think we can sit on the sidelines, or we can do everything we can to help. And I love that example, the hospital example there as well. It may be that we have to reach outside our normal frame where we see opportunities just to add value, but in whatever way, make the next 90 days count. And if it helps to use the 90-day challenge sheet as well, and use that as a basis. And I think the one thing we didn't mention, Rupert, is it's helpful to get an accountability partner at the moment, somebody who can just work with you, and you can talk through your plan with, and maybe they do it for you, and hold each other to account, so that you do get up in the morning and you do get productive and you make things happen.
Exactly. And interesting enough, you missed that part on the call, because we actually specifically spoke about the importance of an accountability partner. So I'm very pleased you reinforced that, Chris, and thank you very much for that. Also, I'd just like to give a special thanks to Peter for your contribution today, and also Renato. We are going to be experimenting with some other slightly different formats over the next few weeks. So, Steve, I know you'll really enjoy next week, but also, wow, Jeremy's Captain Thomas passed £15 million. That's unbelievable. He's basically said he's going to carry on going so long as people actually keep on putting money into the NHS. So what I'm really looking forward to is when he gets to 105, I'll be interested to see whether he can get up to not 15 million, but actually 30 or 40 million, which he's an amazing guy. Wow. So really impressed. So that's a really positive thing to come up with. So look out for the email next week, because everyone can, or you can put yourself forward to be, to take part in this. We're going to be experimenting with some different formats, which allow us to be much more active on Facebook Live and YouTube. So anyway, thank you very much indeed, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week. So take care, everyone.
Thank you. Sorry about my technology.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you, Chris. Yeah, take care. Thank you.